Sir, as you mentioned, there are several stakeholders in the state. My question to you is, how can the Supreme Court say that because the Kashmiri Pandit exodus happened 30 years ago, we don't have time for them, but they have time for every other incident. They have time for Sabrimala, they have time for the 84 riots. Even we have international cases where the German courts are still...
I'm with you. I got the question. See, the thing is this, and there are so many lawyers here, and they'll support me when I make this statement. Non-lawyers are better positioned to ask these questions than people in the profession. Because when you're part of this particular process, it comes with its own set of limitations. But I'm not known to be fettered by most limitations. But therefore, my point is, frankly, it was extremely disappointing and unfortunate that we are willing to even reopen murder cases after several years, the Jessica Lal case being a case in point. After multiple judgments and several processes of appeals, the court was willing to open it because it received a set of documents which were previously not before the court and because there was immense public pressure. Here, a minority of a particular state, which is effectively today a minority that has been kicked out, a better part of it, is asking for reopening of cases with respect to the murder, massacre, and genocide of its kith and kin. From a human rights perspective, which appears to be an extremely favorite perspective when it comes to Northeast and Kashmir, I think it's a blot on the record of India's human rights record. When the Supreme Court of the country says that perhaps these cases, or too much time has elapsed for reopening of these cases. Now, however, here's a caveat, which is an important caveat. Have you read the order of the Supreme Court on this particular issue, or is it based on mainstream reportage? Because if it is based on newspaper articles, I've realized, especially based on my own experience in Sabrimala, that they are not worth the paper that they are written on, because you never know what the Supreme Court said and how it was twisted by the mainstream media. I'm going to caveat that very, very clearly. And that's one of the reasons that in almost every talk, I make it a point, an unconnected point, I make it a point to refer to Mr. Parasran's arguments, because the media was so disproportionate in its coverage of such an important issue that was argued over such a long period of time, from the 17th of August to the 17th of July to the 4th of August. So I don't expect the media to be particularly accurate in its reportage of what exactly the Supreme Court said. So I think it's important to read the order. Is that what the Supreme Court said? And there are observations which are passed during the course of hearings. I'm not saying that you shouldn't take them seriously. However, assuming that the Supreme Court indeed said what you said it has said, I think it is wrong. If we don't look out for these people, who will? They are citizens of India. India seems to have all the time in the world, and the Supreme Court seems to have the time to entertain petitions with respect to Rohingya immigrants, illegal migrants. Surely it must make time for people of this country who have been massacred and who have been subjected to genocide.